this? Incredible! This is
The Grove Podcast.
Hello, my name is Tabs and welcome to episode 171 of the Grove Podcast. Now, thank you for listening and I hope this pod finds you well. Now, I'm back in England now, so back in my comfort zone of my office and my recording equipment, and I've got to admit it, I'm a little bit sad to have left Lisbon behind. It's a lovely city. I've been there a few times. Fortunately, I can go there with work as well. But yeah, lovely city, lovely food, lovely drink, lovely people, and of course a lovely win for the Arsenal, and so which made it all very lovely. All right, anyway, that's enough loveliness for one moment. And thank you to everyone who listened to or politely tolerated my solo pod. The good news is you don't have to endure that again today. And I'm very pleased to say I am joined by friend of the pod, Dr. Andrew Mitchell, or as we know him, Mitch. Mitch, how are you? And yeah, it's nice to get to talk about a victory for a change and not Carabao Cup defeats or injury crises.
Yeah, it is. I'm good. I strangely watched that game on my own at home. I very rarely watch a game with no one else around.
Oh, really?
I was having to reach out to people who weren't at the ground because I didn't want to annoy people who were there. Just saying, are you seeing it the same way I'm seeing it? And I went nuts. We'll talk about the goal, but yeah, absolutely ballistic. So, and I guess we'll talk about how you responded with other gooners in the stadium in a bit. But yeah, doing well. Excited to talk about something other than losses, because there was a bit of a streak there, wasn't it? And it was getting a bit stressful.
Yeah, I mean that's how Arsenal are at the moment. We lose 2 games and that's a streak of losses. So the bar is set quite low or high. I don't know which way to say it, but yeah. So that's that's what we've become. We lose 2 games in a row, and in cup competitions in this crisis time. But I did have one question for you before we start. How many pastel natas is too many? And I'm asking for a friend.
Yeah, no, I think they're like kind of, I don't know. They're like M&Ms. You can just have like a bag of them, right? Just keep going.
They're just too easy, too nice with a cup of coffee.
Lots of people are talking about them. It's kind of like the snack of the trip.
Yeah, snack, breakfast, lunch, dinner. Yeah. So anyway, yeah. So hence I went for a run before the pod just to start working that off. So anyway, look, in today's pod we're going to be digging into a few talking points from the sporting game. I think the match. It's not that it divided opinion, but there was something about, substance over style and Arsenal's identity. So we've got that on the agenda. Boring Arsenal. Is it not? Does it matter? So look, we'll have a chat through that rather than like taking apart the game, and then we're gonna look ahead to a massive pivotal home game against Bournemouth this Saturday. But actually, before we do that, and as I was preparing for the pod, sort of news came out earlier today. From Sami Mokbel, who I think is from the BBC, talking about potential contract extension for Mikel Arteta, that they're looking at that hopefully to get that sorted over the summer. It's due to expire at the end of next season, so the urgency as such isn't there, but also if we want to do it, it's good to get it done early so we're not talking about it and it's not hanging over everyone next season. So where do you stand on that sort of news, that this discussion, to think that we want to extend it, and I'm assuming it'd be for 3 years or something like that. So take it to 2030 or something like that.
Yeah, I am. I've got a draft WhatsApp in my WhatsApp group for my mates who've been Arsenal fans. There's a group of us since we were 4 little kids, and I was just about to send it, and I was like, maybe what I'm hearing isn't necessarily accurate, and it isn't kind of true. But obviously, this is now come out. I'd sign him up now. A lot of people have very short memories, or don't have the experience of dragging ourselves through the early 80s, or some of the kind of more fallow periods. And he's battling up against like a giant. I can't give a really good cartoon analogy, but like we're trying to run things accurately, effectively through PSR and do things properly. We, back in Wenger's day, kind of. What did David Dean say? They parked a tank on the lawn and they're firing £50 notes at us or something.
Yeah.
This has been taken to a whole nother level. Obviously, we don't want to go on about Man City all the time, but I think what he's done, and if touching lots of wood in my office, if we get through to the semi, that'd be the first time the club's been in 2 semi-finals of the Champions League in a row, and second in the Prem. Yeah, everyone's kind of saying second again, but every other team in the Prem, apart from the team that won, would want to be where we were. I love the way he carries himself within the media. I absolutely love him. The reason no one likes him is because everyone's worried about him and he's successful. If he suddenly became on the market, what team in the world wouldn't want him?
Absolutely.
Let's hang on to him. I think he's brilliant.
Yeah. And do you think, and basing on that, I'm pretty sure the answer is no, but it shouldn't be tied to, so imagine the worst scenario. We don't win anything this season. Would that influence, I mean, it would influence the reaction, but would it influence the club's decision, do you think?
I don't think so, because I think they see a lot of these other clubs bouncing from manager to manager. I mean, Man United still haven't got a replacement for Ferguson. I don't know how long he left. That's a long time ago. And with sport, yes, the Prem season's a long season, Champions League's a long season, obviously the Cups. But lots of other things are going against you, like injury. Some of the injuries, he can't control, or majority, I'd hope. And then obviously refereeing decisions. So it isn't like we've given you the money, you've got the best squad. Of course you have to win, because as we know, like sport isn't like that. Stuff will always happen. Players will miss when they're through on goal and you think, it's a dead cert. Goalkeepers will maybe not get hands something. So obviously football is not an exact science. So I would sign him up regardless of whether we win anything. It might be cheaper if we don't win anything. I'm not asking for that, but it'll be. I think he'll ask for slightly less. But if we win something, he's going to be literally right in the amount per week on
he can have whatever he wants.
Exactly. Yeah. I want this. Okay. But yeah, no. So I would sign him up in a heartbeat. I think you can see that the players want to play for him. The passion in the team. Obviously, those of us who were around when the last few years of Arsenal, I don't want to say a bad word about Arsenal at all, but maybe hung on a bit long. And then some of the bad times with Unai, you can see the player. Once the dressing room is lost, that really hurts me as an Arsenal fan. And I think it's the exact opposite. I think they'd run to a brick wall for this guy.
Yeah, and again, look, ultimately in sport, it is about winning things, especially at our levels. So he doesn't have that, on the mantelpiece yet. Yeah. But internally within the club, there are different success measures, and he's judged maybe on not just the binary win trophy, not win trophy, because we are regularly competing on all four fronts. Okay, up until a few weeks ago, but we're there. We are now, I think, stalwarts of Europe. We're there. We even though it's only been a couple of years, 2-3 years, but back, we're not going away anywhere soon. And look, you see our performance this year, what we did last year. So we're on the world stage, because playing in the Champions League is the world stage, even though it's Europe. So they look at that, in terms of where we are, and that continued, and that is success. Just competing regularly every year is success. There's only going to be one or two teams actually per year that will actually get the trinkets, get the trophies. So that is success. I mean, ultimately, he will have to succeed at some point. He will have to, otherwise. And look, even if he signs a contract, we've seen what's happened up the road in Middlesex, and how easy it is to get rid of a manager. If a club wants to get rid of a manager, they'll get rid of a manager. So I don't think it's tied to this year. Potentially next year, if nothing happens, then that's a different story. And maybe we've got to have an honest conversation with ourselves, because as much as we love him, what do we want? And then it's weighing up the alternative versus what you have, and it's tricky. And at some point, you can't just hand wave away the injuries or whatever, referees or whatever. At some point, something has to change. Sometimes you have to take a step backwards to go forward, and that may be not a reflection on him. It's just the way of the world. But I think what he's done is brought together an amazing squad, amazing culture, and I love that about the club. And it's not being woke or anything like that. I think it's so important. We've got amazing potential. And I think who doesn't want to come and play for Arsenal, and who wouldn't want to take Arteta? And people laugh from the outside, even just that thing they were doing the other day with pens and stuff like that. Yeah. It's just a bit of a fun exercise. I remember when I was doing coaching, we would do stupid things just we don't have to be serious all the time. So it's just so. And here's the major thing: it's his first job in management, for Christ's sake. And what's he done in 6 years? Is it 6 years? Was it 2019 when he started? So I think it's incredible. And I really don't think he gets the credit he should, because he rubs up people the wrong way. People are very binary this day and age on socials. Win or nothing, win all your shit, and there's more to it than that.
Yeah, and I think the people that are critical of why are you doing stupid games before training, I bet you I doubt many of them have worked in a high performance sporting environment. You can't do the same warm up every day. The players get so bored, they won't engage, they'll get annoyed. The irony is it was still a competitive little game, and the players weren't kind of looking at the camera going, "This is a waste of time." Call my agent. They were taking the pen drill, whatever it's called. Yeah. They were taking it seriously. I've seen NFL teams as they warm up playing dodgeball, and those guys loved it. Multi-millionaires playing a silly game, but you just want to keep the guys engaged. It can't be the same thing every week because they'll go through the motions. They won't do the warm up properly. They won't be engaged. It's just a laugh. And there's only so many different things you can do, and we've seen kind of tennis balls being thrown around, all kinds of different stuff. I've seen juggling one week with tennis balls. But yeah, like I said, bottom line is the outside world doesn't like Arteta because they're worried about him.
And maybe because he's just not, he doesn't give you the sound bites that maybe Klopp did or Slot does. Or he doesn't. And journalists hate someone who doesn't give them anything. So therefore they're into it. And it's fine. Look, I'm not going to go down that route now. But anyway, so I'm all for it. And I'm not going to worry about it. I think the sooner we get it done, the better, because I think it means it just doesn't. We don't have to think about it, and it doesn't become a thing, and so on. I think Mockbell also reported stuff about Waneri and MLS about their futures potentially at Arsenal not being overly secure, but I think we're going to leave those discussions until after at the end of the season when it comes to that sort of thing. I don't think we need to get into that now. So okay. So Sporting Club de Portugal 0, Arsenal 1. What did you make of that result? And the fact that we only won it 1-0 after 91st minute goal.
Yeah, I was delighted with the win. If you'd said to me beforehand, what do you want? I'd have said I'd be delighted with any win. Obviously, 5-1, and that's where I think that's where a lot of people's minds were at. Well, last time we played them, it's 5-1. Different teams on both sides, different stage. I was just pleased. Any win, and then coming back to bring the second leg back to the Emirates, I was happy. You could say if we'd have taken a few more chances, we could have put it to bed. But it's still an elite team in European football. Obviously, we've talked about they're on a great run, 17 match unbeaten home run.
Is it 17 home unbeaten? They actually finished in the top 8 of the group stage or the league phase. They beat PSG along the way. They've scored in every home game. I think they may have even scored in every game, but at least every home game since February 2025. I think that and in unbeaten, I think it was 27 or something like that total. So they're no mugs. They're there on merit. So I think you're right. The 5-1. I think everyone was thinking of that. So why aren't we going to do that again? But that's a league phase game. It's very different to a knockout first game. And
I think the taking a win back to the Emirates is absolutely huge. But we'll talk about it a bit more later in the pod. But the performance and the effort, I was really pleased with. That was the result makes a difference, and it's important to take that 1-0 lead back. But it didn't feel like the same. I didn't have the same concerns as I did in the City and the Southampton game. I wasn't kind of watching saying he's half-assed. Why is he not trying? Why is he not tracking back? What's that guy doing? And it looked like the mindset was right. And it's a hostile atmosphere. I mean, those fans, they were making a lot of noise. And I think that'll prepare us for if we touch wood again, if we can go through to the semi to go to a big Spanish stadium, and it'll be a similar environment, similar home fan environment, and the intensity of the atmosphere. So I thought they dealt with that really well. They can't hear each other very well. When it's that noisy, they're shouting to each other. They can't hear each other very well.
It was noisy. I mean, I said I was fortunate enough to be there, and yes, it was an intense, noisy atmosphere, and also for them, for Sporting, it was a really important game. This is only the second time since '92 that they've made the quarterfinals of the Champions League. So for them, it was a huge game. So they laid it on thick with the tifo and all the music and the songs and the drum and very the typical the ultras, and then you add to that our last couple of games, our state of mind, our state of play at the moment. It's a tough place to to go, and there was a whole load of narrative about us. But no, I think you're right. I think we handled that well.
Yeah, it had banana skin kind of written all over it. Arsenal on a bit of a bad run, or the worst run of the season. Them on such a good home run, them on such a good run, regardless of whether it's home or away. The as you say, the history of them being in that stage for the first time in many years. They're a big, proud club. I was really interested to see how they would play and interact with Gyökeres both in the match and after the match, and obviously they know him quite well. But I was quite interested. I was quite impressed with the class of how they reacted to him after the match. You could see a number of different players were going up and kind of shaking hands, having conversations, giving them big hugs. And I know that
the manager was really nice about it as well.
I've lost his name, but he was very complimentary and respectful, which I think is really good. I think sometimes it's a shame that we lose that when players go to other teams and it's like, they've done us wrong, they've left. But I thought that was really respectful. I thought it was really, really positive from him.
Yeah, well, I didn't. Maybe it's because the Arsenal fans were singing or whatever. I didn't hear too much booing of him, and maybe if that came across on TV, but in the stands it didn't. But also, it's different for players and the manager. I think the manager alluded to the fact, well, the reason we're doing so well, we won he's made me a champion. He was like, Gyökeres has made me a champion. And the players. I think the players understand it. You've any of those players, they've got the chance to go to the Premier League to play for one of the best teams in Europe in the Premier League. Everyone's going to do what they can to get there. So they understand that situation. They're not going to say, why don't you stay here and play in the Portuguese league? No, they got their championship and stuff. So they understand it. The manager understands it. So I think the fans were fine. There wasn't much of a sense there. I mean, apart from the fact that he did very little during the game, so there wasn't really much for them to boo. But it wasn't like, there was. I've heard worse. Put like Ben White got a worse deal recently than Gyökeres did. Yeah.
How the commentators initially were saying, there's no chance. Well, the Arsenal fans are here, and they kind of gave some credit to the Arsenal fans continue that turn up. But then they did say before the match started, we won't be able to hear the Arsenal fans because the home fans are so intense and great atmosphere. I heard you guys the whole game. I heard you every 30 seconds, every minute or so. If there's a pause in the atmosphere, if there's a pause in the commentary, and you can actually hear them when they're not talking, I was like, oh no, I can hear that. Sometimes you just hear the kind of tune or the kind of rhythm.
You just know it's an English. It's an English chant rather than a Portuguese one.
And credit to the away fans, that you were heard definitely. You've probably all got
good.
I'm glad your voice is back. To be fair, but yeah, definitely heard. And I think obviously it's a lovely place to go to, but that's it's an intense place. I heard it was a bit stressful getting in.
No, for me, I got there quite early, so it was fine. I think it wasn't quite stressful getting in, but there was, they did lay on thick the, I think was it the stormtroopers? I think Arsblog was calling them, but they had the police all in black, all masked up, helmets, batons, AK-47s, whatever. They looked intimidating, but if you just behave yourself, but if you're just act normal, they're fine. Afterwards, it was a bit of, they keep you in and then they were corralling you to go to a train station that they wanted you to go to. And if you sort of if you stepped out of line, they weren't so friendly. And I spoke to a couple of people and said, they were prodding and poking and maybe not being the friendliest. So I was actually going in the wrong direction. So I went to one side and said, oh, look, I need to go over there. And you're taking me the wrong way over there. I said, oh, is it okay if I just, he says, oh yeah, okay, just wait here. And I stood next to him. Yeah. And he sort of like pushed me in front of him because he didn't want me in next to him, but that was fine. I just
that's funny.
It's a bit odd, but it's that thing. If they treat like animals, well, guess what? This is a different. The people that go away now, it's very different. No one's there to cause trouble. You have a bit of fun, a bit of singing, a bit of dancing. Yes, you're going to have the odd drunk person who may be a bit an idiot, but they'll be put in their place. But most of the time, it's not that from the 80s and 90s and stuff. So no, it was all fine. And as much as it's one of those things. You get used to it. It's not something you particularly want to get used to, because also, we've been to games, Leverkusen, all nice and friendly afterwards. Bilbao was amazing. They let you out and you're going down this street and all the bars are there and all the Bilbao fans are chatting and they're chatting to Arsenal fans. It's so uber friendly. Yeah. So I didn't feel any. I walked to the ground from my hotel and there was walking through all this the Sporting fans. And yeah, it just seemed like a really nice, friendly atmosphere. There was no animosity there. But it's just maybe it's as I think as Arsblog said, maybe it's a UEFA thing. I don't know, but it was fine. It was fine. Nothing too bad. But yeah. So look, a cagey affair, which first games, knockout stages normally are. But how important do you think that winning was rather than drawing, and how important or significant do you think that last minute goal was, considering what's happened, considering what's about to happen?
It was huge. The win rather than the draw was huge, not only for the Champions League but for the Prem. Obviously to stop the 2-game losing streak, but I think anything that dragged or seeped into the Bournemouth game was going to be negative, kind of a millstone round our necks. Leading into this game, my concern was more about whether we'd be physically ready, because whilst we talk about, last time I was on the pod, we talked about compartmentalising the League Cup final loss. And with good coaching and correct approach, that can be done if you get the mindset of the guys in the right place and you give them the support they need depending on their personality types. And that's there's good evidence to suggest that we can support athletes to do that. What you can't do is compartmentalise fitness and say, actually, Tabs, you're not knackered. Your right hamstring that's been hurting all season's fine, because it hurts when you get out of bed.
It's mind over matter. Come on.
Exactly. Yeah. That it maybe in a Karate Kid movie might work, but some of these guys have played more minutes than they've ever played in their career at a higher intensity level as well. Yeah. If you're fatigued carrying a knock, we can't just wipe that away. So I was pleased to see, as I mentioned earlier, the intensity of the work ethic. If a guy's coming out and he's only got 65 minutes in him, he was working hard for that 65 minutes. It wasn't like, well, I know I'm not going to finish the game. And as for the last minute goal, I think now flipping that back the other way, I think that has a bigger psychological or greater psychological effect for us scoring it last minute than if we'd scored it on 70 minutes. I think that the vibe in that changing room afterwards must have been crazy. I think if you win 17 and you hang on for 20, 25, depending on how much, although the referee's extra time was appalling. I don't know.
Bizarre, absolutely bizarre.
I think if you've held on for the last 20 and it's a bit kind of negative, stressful, hanging on and everyone behind the ball, there'd be a different atmosphere in the changing room. But that last minute kind of a message you saying, like, what was the vibe in the stadium? Because I want to kind of ask you that about, was it kind of Declan Rice, Real Madrid kind of vibe and the free kicks, or was it Reece Nelson last minute, or kind of like, obviously everyone went nuts, but what was it like?
Yeah, no, it was great, and as I said, it slowed down, but because like you saw it happen. It felt like you're watching it live, but it felt all happening in slow motion.
Right.
You know, Martinelli also doing something that you don't expect him to do, and then fine. And I don't think anyone spotted the run from Havertz. It's not like, oh, Havertz is there. No, until Havertz got the ball. Where the hell did Havertz come from? You know, and then we're all going, just shoot, you know, and it just felt really slow. But that first touch, I mean, I didn't notice it at the time, but watching it, I said, wow, just killed it so softly. And as I was saying beforehand, we were just saying, just hit it, come on, you know, because the chance is there, and we know if we get this, we won the game and stuff like that. But it just all seems to slow down. And there's that thing that I was saying to before, that some of our players have this sort of, it's not casual, it's a bit nonchalant, or what they don't come across as urgent. They've got that sort of Ozil thing about him. So that Ben White is very much like that. Havertz is very much like that. And sometimes you just want that, just twat it, you know, just hit it hard. And I think fans used to get the same thing with Ozil, where everything looked so easy. But then when you look back in a replay, no, it was like control, shoot, but it just seemed to slow down. And then lots of hugging of random strangers. It was more akin to Reece Nelson or Gabriel earlier this year. I responded. It was more like Gabriel last minute against Newcastle, just limbs everywhere. And as you said, it's that last minute thing. So not only you celebrating the goal, you're celebrating, we've won as well. But well, you pretty much certain you've won, even though the ref, I don't know what happened. Added on more time than there was added time, you know, and they had but you know, so you got the whole of those things, and then there's a bit of a release. So we've had a couple of weeks, we've a couple of losses, and it's all been a bit and a bit drab and negative and stuff like that. So you got all that emotion there. Now I think we would have taken 0-0, would have been a bit meh, but again, we're still in our hands. We go at home. We should win, etc. But to have that 1-0, just a lot of emotions released all in one. So it was a great explosion of joy.
Yeah. When the ball came over, I thought, when I saw it was going to him, because you're right, I hadn't seen the run. I thought he was going to take it first time, and it kind of the position he was in made me think of a Wiltord goal. I need to try and find out what Wiltord goal I'm thinking of. Kind of catching it on the volley, and I was like, oh, that's going to be really hard to try and catch it first time, especially with the shape of his run. And then he took the touch, and then he scored. But I didn't realise how good the touch was until they showed the replay, and then that could be the first touch of the season. I was so impressed with that. And
just kills it dead into his feet.
Exactly, but it's the pressure of the touch as well, and knowing this is the last chance. There won't be another chance. We won't get another opportunity. But yeah, I went absolutely mental. And then
any harder that touch, it goes to the keeper.
Yeah,
or the keeper gets a chance, or rushes out. So it's like
so delicate. So delicate.
So unlike, but if you compare what he did in the Carabao Cup final, just chalk and cheese. That's what he should have done in the Carabao Cup final, but the hesitancy was there. The Carabao Cup final, not quite there. So goalkeeper rushed that well, but yeah, it
makes you wonder after the final in training whether they've done any drills where they've kind of gone over that again, and just kind of re-imprinted his brain as to first touch shoot. But no, it was amazing. And then they did cut to the fans, and there was a few kind of random Arsenal fans that you kind of recognise because they either wear the same kit or merch to the away games. I didn't see yourself or any of the other kind of other. I
was to the right of the goal if you're looking at it, and obviously Havertz went to the left. So it
was like the great and the good of Arsenal podcasts were there. Yourself, plus, a number of other people. But really, really positive. Like I said, hopefully they can carry that through. But I think there'll be a different buzz in training now. The guys will be getting to training with a slightly different. I think, as you say, a draw would have been fair enough because we should expect to win at home. But this changes it. They won't get a. What do you think they'll do when they come to us? Do you think they'll just try and stay in the game as long as possible?
It'll be LinkedIn Liam-esque. I think again, don't lose it, because if they open themselves too much and they try and go for it too early, and we pick them off, then they're out of it.
Yeah,
and I mean, look, when they came last time, when we lost against them in the Europa League, I can't remember, was it 0-0 from the first leg or something like that? I can't remember. But anyway, it would have been 1-0 to us. I mean, they got a lucky goal, a goal from distance. So, but I think their approach was going to be similar. So they come, and they just don't be out of the tie. So then you basically want to be in the game 60 minutes, 70 minutes. I think that's how they approach it. I think that's the sensible approach. I think what it does for us, it may be, it would have been nice to get 2-0, 3-0, but that wasn't that game. That's not where we get. But it would be, it gives us potential opportunity to maybe, depending on what happens this weekend, maybe not risk players or have them in reserve on the bench thinking about City. Because look, if we can do what we did yesterday without, so instead of saying without Saka, without Timber, half fit Calafiori, so without Hincapié, so that so we got certain, and without Eza, so we can do that. And then at home. So, and then look, we have them on the bench if need be. So I think we've got a chance to juggle depending on see what happens this weekend. I think there's a significance, and maybe better than me about this sort of thing. But do players really take this? Again, there's the confidence thing, or is it just talk about a bit of saying? Or do they say no, we did that, now we're confident? They always say about we're confident, we believe, but you've been in and around these environments. Do things like this make a difference going forward to the next game? Is it belief? Is it confidence? What is that happens?
I think they'll always give you the answer that they've been trained to give since they were 15 and started getting interviewed by Arsenal.com. We're confident, we can win, work hard, team effort, but absolutely that I remember a quote from Wenger said something about Petit saying, when he's in love, he plays on a different level, because when his relationships are going positively, Petit will play better. I absolutely 100% believe that the kind of positive mindset. Remember all these guys have got different personality types. Some are introverts, some are extroverts. Some of them might deal with. Well, we know Ben. Look at Ben on an interview compared to David Raya. David Raya gave an excellent interview, really, really calm, really positive. But so they are very, very different. But bottom line is they're so competitive. Give you a really good example. We were trying to get some guys at Watford to do some really simple. I can't remember what it was. I think it was we wanted a simple timed 2K on a Concept 2 rower. For some reason, one of my students was doing some testing, I believe, and he wasn't getting any engagement. All he needed to do was put a top 10 list whiteboard, listed the guys' names, like the old Top Gear test track with the reasonably priced car, and then straight away they're like, well, if he's there, I think I'm better at it than him. I'm going to try and beat that. And they're just so uber competitive, but they thrive on that positive mindset, and they thrive on because bottom line, they've still got to look their families in the eye, they've still got to look their teammates in the eye, they've got to look Arteta in the eye, girlfriends, partners, and stuff. And for me as an athlete, going into races or matches or events when you feel good, I'd rather do that than turning up thinking this last 2 weeks of training has been shocking, carrying a niggle, and you almost, for me as well, you're the same, you're an endurance athlete, better than me, but you when you're hurt you can feel it, but when you're hurt and you're feeling good, I think it feels.
Was that smiling? It's when you're smiling, the pain goes away. Well, don't worry, I've been at the end of races smiling and it still fucking hurts. So, but there's it's a psycho stuff. If you're smiling, the pain dissipates, sort of thing. So I'd imagine it's the same thing. But look, you could see even with the reaction, it seemed like the way they responded to that goal was more than just, we've won a game. It was more of a FU type thing, and everyone just seemed to sort of, that's FU's the last couple of weeks. We're not saying we're back, but right, come on, we've got this sort of thing. So look, moving on, and one of the big topics before the game, and Arteta said this before the game, it was all about identity, and I wanted to talk about that. And I think he said before the game, I think when you have the opportunity that we have, that has to be taken through excitement, through preparing yourself in the best possible way to focus on the present and things that we have to do, and especially in our identity. Very clear what it is taking us on the way to where we are. That's where we have to focus. And then he said after the game, I'm extremely happy. Obviously, it was a big night, a big moment in the season, especially where we're coming from. I think we had a point to prove. Yesterday, I talked about identity and the things that I wanted to see on the pitch. It certainly happened. Certainly, there was a shift there. What do you think Arteta was alluding to with regards to our identity that he saw? Yes, you saw from the sporting game and how it manifested itself. What do you think that identity was? Because I've got some clear ideas, but I'd be interested to hear what you think.
I think he's trying to get back to the identity of this team at the beginning of the season, when we were going to matches and people were getting 7 touches on our box and 1 shot. We've kind of moved away from that for lots of different reasons. It isn't just injury here, injury there. It's injury here, someone else has to fill in, therefore that relationship with the person behind them is slightly different. It's a ton of different things, but I don't actually think it's possible to, I think it's too late, and it's too late in the season to get back to where we were without giving these guys a month off, sending them to Dubai. Well, not Dubai necessarily at the moment. I've got, one of my PhD students is in Dubai, bless her. So sending them away for some sun, and Lisbon potentially, nice part of the world. And then
it was raining.
Oh yes,
Move on.
It was better in London. Someone said the weather was better in London. But I think as a whole, the players at the beginning of the season, they weren't exhausted from playing 50 odd games plus international travel, international games. They weren't coming back from long injuries, layoffs. They weren't coming back, playing a little game and then maybe getting another niggle, because obviously the most dangerous part, or the most risky part of a rehab, is that first month of you being back. So that's kind of a challenge. And I think at the moment, these guys are literally hanging on for dear life. So he kind of wants that. We're difficult to play against. He wants to dominate the ball, limit opposition shots. But as I said before, this part of the season is the last lap of a 1500 meter race when you've gone out too fast. These guys are literally hanging on for dear life, to the point where, and it was beneficial to us, but we, in all good faith, sent Bukayo and Declan away for England. And England chose. Arsenal didn't say, can you send them back really quickly?
No, you can't. They're not allowed to.
Yeah, evaluate that yourself. And England turned around and went, no, actually, we're sending them back. So that these guys are absolutely exhausted. But as for the identity that he's trying to instill, I think he wouldn't describe it to us the same way he described it to his players. I think if his response to that question in a press conference or pitch side interview with the pundits or whatever, I don't think it would be the wording he'd give his players. And I don't think until the guy's retired or he writes a memoir, we'll find that out. I think he'll distill it into much shorter phrases, I'm convinced, rather than, let's limit shots, work hard for your teammates. I think there's a lot of different things that stereotypically as Arsenal fans who we all watch a lot of football, we could say, I reckon he's going to talk about backing your teammates up, working hard, staying concentrated, all this kind of thing. But it might be because we know he likes a bit of, because we see with the Amazon doc, he does, and with the pen thing, he does like to be a bit quirky and have different things. And he's getting this from all the other coaches he's on. He said he's on some WhatsApp groups with coaches, elite coaches across the world sporting landscape. So he's hearing from like rugby coaches, oh, we do this as a warm up, or the whole making years back, the whole playing You'll Never Walk Alone at Anfield. I remember when that happened, everyone went nuts. And that was only a few years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I literally messaged a mate of mine and said, we were doing that at the University of Tennessee in 1999. It's not a new thing. It's just new in football because he'd heard about it and then he'd miss it on TV. So I think he's quite quirky.
And some things land, some things don't. It's the fact that he's trying stuff. Imagine if you're just doing the same thing over and over and again. Eventually, as you said, they get bored. The message doesn't land. So you try, and some things land, some things don't.
I still like the idea of sending these guys out for part of training, get them to put some AirPods in if you don't even want to make it on a speaker, and get them to do a 20 minutes of defending drill with the noise of Camp Nou.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Because I'd say that's actually good preparation. It's good training. It's not a gimmick. That's what they're going to hear. And that's where. And that's
even there's no lad. And we're going off tangent here, but even earmuffs, so they can't hear each other. So everything is signals. Everything is and I think where maybe you're going to get to on this is in terms of doing it's not about individuals. It's about the system. Mm-hmm. It's a systematic thing and how they work as a unit, how they work as a team. And I think that's what he's trying to get to. So again, if you do that thing is that they can't hear each other, so they're having to like work on instinct. And I know you so well. I know where you're going to be. I know it. You know where I'm going to be, and there should be no surprises. You know, when you're fatigued, those disciplines go. So it's trying to put into place a system that will basically understand that they're fatigued, but still, and look, I think that the identity he's trying to get to is back to that. We used to complain when the team had a shot on target, not give a goal away, just a shot on bloody target. I think it's about controlling the ball, controlling the tempo, being hard to beat again. You know, as you said, being that team from the first half of the season against what it wasn't perfect, but it was a start. It's a way, and it's building that defensive base. Now the issue with that is that the focus is on there. It's not giving anything away. Recently we've been too easy to be transitioned against, too vulnerable to long balls, too over the top. So the issue is that when you go back to this controlling method, this keeping the ball, the 300,000 passes, whatever it is, the attacking play then does suffer because so much focus is there that it's not become secondary, but it's just that maybe you are a bit hesitant to release someone and they've made the run, or maybe you just even in football, just that 1 second of hesitation, then the moment's gone. The other thing is interesting as fans is that what we can see from a bird's eye view, quite to virtually being on the pitch, and you've got players in front of you. It looks so easy from up in the stands. You've seen a pass, I've seen a pass, but if you were down there, you're not seeing that pass. And so maybe we are a bit risk averse, and we're going to be that. But I think we need to take a bit of a step back to give ourselves that base, which then gives us the confidence to then go, right, now we know we're better at that and we've improved on that. Now we can let loose. But with that, it becomes, and for me, I don't care. It's substance over style. And people were calling it boring. I mean, do you care? Do you care it's boring, or is it just, I don't care, just win?
Yeah, not at all. I don't care. I don't look back on previous competitions or prems we've won back in the day and say, I don't look back at the 89 season going, actually, a lot of those games were dreary. We won the league. Don't care whatsoever. delighted with the win, delighted with the psychological impact, hopefully, that the players. But I was also delighted with the impact of the opposition. Did you see the shoulders drop of obviously you've done a rewatch since, I'm sure, but you probably couldn't see it in the stadium. But when they zoomed in on the some of the Sporting players after we conceded, you could see them just kind of go, oh, they were desperate to take that through as a draw to come back to North London. And I think that's going to be huge. You could literally see it on their faces. They were just kind of like, oh, damn it. They nearly got there. They nearly kind of held out. And it's just
so double psychological
brilliance.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, and look, with what we were doing, again, trying to do that control, we weren't suffocating. So it's not like we were over them, but we just weren't letting them. Now, look, in every game, there's still going to be opportunities. I mean, they had that amazing, we'll get onto it in a second, but that amazing ball through and that chance in the opening minute. And there was a bit helter-skeltery, a bit basketball-y second half. But so I said it wasn't perfect, but you can see what we were trying to achieve, and the knock-on effect that is it is going to be a bit dull. Everyone's going, pass it forward. Well, yeah, but if we then pass it forward, we lose it, and we're all out of position. But, given where we've been the last couple of games, now I know it's a different team and different competition, whatever, but we need to get that back, and I think it's a sacrifice that we're prepared to make. Now, Bournemouth is a different story. And I said, I don't care if we are boring. I'll take it if it pisses people off. Who cares? Because it's not about that at the moment. So yeah, I think for me it was a really good professional performance. We quietened the crowd, so that was one thing. Like after the first 10 minutes when they were at it, and so that's something else. And I think I said this before. Sometimes what we do is it's not in order to generate attack and move someone. It's just maybe right. Let's take a breath. Let's take a pause. Let's kill the atmosphere a bit, and then we go. Yeah. And whereas everyone watches football like they play football in the playground. I'm saying this from a basic level. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there, intelligently and all the rest of it. But we play how we get the ball. We want to go forward and score goals. You get the ball and go. You're not in the playground, right? I'm going to be here, pass it left. And everyone's excited. Just go forward. Come on. And I'm being a bit facetious, but you understand that everyone's got that child mentality of just attack sort of thing, and maybe we just got to sometimes dial that back a bit. And you take a step back and say, okay, why are we doing this? It's games are so intense that you sometimes got to take a breath, take a pause, just to reassess and reset yourself. Because if you just held to skelter, if it's back and forth basketball, you don't have that chance to say, okay, what's happening here? And control. Control is boring. But also control can be successful, and I'd rather be successful than look at Liverpool yesterday.
Yeah, and where we are in the season, talking about the guys being knackered or having varying levels of exhaustion and injuries and niggles and things like that. By us controlling the ball, they're not pressing, and we're, at least when we're moving it around the back, we're not running as fast as we would be and sprinting into to press them if they had the ball. And I think the other thing as well, I say this to my mate. Jose sits next to me at the Emirates. It's very easy for us to look at them and go, why are we doing the horseshoe of death? Or why are we just banging it long now when we weren't banging it long last week? Why are we suddenly against Southampton, why are we doing loads of short corners? We haven't done a short corner all season, and then now suddenly we're doing short corners. But I always say to him, and we always end up kind of going, yeah, actually, fair point. They're not going to do anything. I mean, individual skills within a game and touches and movements, they'll do individually, but they won't be doing short corners winging it. It's because short corner coach has said this, or set piece coach has said this is what we're doing. When we do the horseshoe of death, I'm convinced that more than we think, they're doing exactly what he says, because I think he's so controlling of the overall approach. And sometimes we kind of say, well, why aren't we pressing? We've kind of dropped off. That's lazy. We should press. It might not be because they're lazy and they're tired. It's because Arteta has said, no, let them just drop, boys, and see how they can handle it. So I think quite often it's easy for us to watch the game and, as you were saying, think, why aren't they attacking? Why aren't they doing this? I'd say more and more they're doing exactly what he wants. And it could be press for the first. We won't. Yeah, we'll try and take the home fans out of that first 10 minutes. Don't do anything silly. Don't give a goal away and let their fans go nuts. Kill the crowd.
Yeah, and look, you look what happened, whether the substitutions were forced, enforced or not. But the difference between when Odegaard came off, Havertz come on, Martinelli comes on, Trossard, Dalman Madueke like for like, if you ask me. And then we changed our sort of style a bit, and maybe it was a case of right now we're a bit different. We maybe open up a bit, but we try and go for the goal. We try and do something different. And look, and that's not to say we can't be better going forward. We sometimes maybe are a bit too passive. We can be a bit more. We could be a bit more, progressive with that. So as I said, I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying this is the way we have to be and all the rest of it. But I think from where we've been, it's taken. Okay, let's reset, whatever cliche you want to do, and let's build that foundation, build that base, get those automatons together, get that back, managing ourselves. And then we go, and if we look, as I said, if we win every game 1-0 to the Arsenal for the rest of the season, no one's going to complain. I don't care. I don't care for that. But with that though, it could have been a very different story. Now imagine if that goal, that shot had gone in, and I want to talk about Raya for a second because he it's for me, it goes to show how important he is to this team, what a difference he makes. But just to start off with that, imagine if that had gone in, what the atmosphere from us would have been like. Now, I'm fairly passive, but, people were less passive. Even online, watching at home, how important was that save so we don't start the game basically 1-0 down?
It was absolutely huge. And obviously in the stadium, you wouldn't have seen... unless you were kind of getting updates from home, how he actually gets a very slight finger to it, and there's been a lot of discussion on even if it's a slight finger, it changes the trajectory of the ball.
And at that pace, just a little tap.
It could have gone down and in, as opposed to going up and out. I was thinking this earlier. I think until he's won something, Raya, with us, something big, I think it'll be difficult to cement this opinion. But in my memory, and a kind of early Arsenal memory for me, was kind of Pat Jennings. That's going back a long way. And then obviously a whole load of, the big name goalkeepers since then. I mean, I think in athleticism, he's potentially the most athletic, best dynamic shot stopper in my memory. Obviously, Lehmann had different skill set, and obviously Seaman in his time had some. It's
like all football, just the whole position has changed.
Exactly. So you can't compare them directly, but I would just love him, obviously, for the Gooners around the world and for us and for our sanity, for us to win something. But I'd love Raya to win something so that he can be on that same level as well, rather than just being a great goalkeeper. Never won anything, but great goalkeeper. What I keep thinking about is how when Seaman was brought in, we already had John Lukic, and I remember there was discussions at the time, and someone said to Gaffer, why are you bringing in Seaman if you've got Lukic? And he turned around and said, John Lukic is one of the best goalkeepers in the league. David Seaman is the best goalkeeper in the league. And I almost feel that same thing has happened. Ramsdale's doing well at Newcastle. He started now. Was one of the better goalkeepers in the league. Quite liked him. I don't think his personality ever fit, to be fair, with Arsenal. You can't tell Mikel Arteta that you can't concentrate as a goalkeeper.
No.
But I think
it wasn't
Raya,
the wall, wasn't it?
I genuinely think Raya is the best goalkeeper in the league now. And when he came in, there was that weird thing about, I'm going to sub my goalkeepers, which none of us really fell for at the time. But he has such a calming influence and such a positive influence on the way we play. In the old days, think back when Petr Cech had the ball at his feet, or any of the goalkeepers around era.
There's that one when he passed it across goal and he almost scored.
Yeah, it was terrifying. Now, I'm not stressed when Raya's got the ball at his feet. He's probably got as good a touch as most of our defenders. So super pleased it didn't go in. Like it would have really changed the game, and it would have made it a long slog. The opposing team scoring early, even though it's awful because it hurts, because it's at the start of the game, is bad. But I'd rather them score early than them score with 10 minutes to go.
Well, or do what we did, score in the 91st minute. But,
exactly.
I mean, for me, Raya, he's up there as player of the season for me so far. His saves, he's kept us in so many games. But the thing about him is not just his goalkeeping. He is so integral to everything that we do. He's the start of our attack. Yeah. He's like, and look, I'm not putting Kepa down. Kepa is a decent mid-table club keeper, so as a backup he's great, but the drop off is huge, and it was a bit like going from Saliba to Holding a couple of seasons back. Decent players, but when the drop off is that big, it changes everything you're doing. We saw that against Southampton. We saw that against City. That when you don't have the best goalkeeper in the league, up there as one of the best goalkeepers in the world, he just can't do the same thing. But you're right, his calmness, but his ability on the ball, and you have that, that back, that triangle of Saliba, Gabriel, and Raya. They're just so important to everything that we do. And he's made so many critical saves he made critical saves yesterday, and he made critical saves throughout the season. Without him
as well is because of his athleticism, he makes double and triple saves in the same action. To quote Mikel Arteta, so there'll be dive to the floor, makes a save, parries the ball out, dives back in the other direction, saves with his knee or his legs, or he's kind of. It's not like he kind of makes the glamour save, and then there's always going to be a tap in because he'll palm it back to the opposition who just tap it in. There's been a number of situations this year where he's kind of made 1, 2, 3 saves in one single action. And I heard on one of the pods someone was saying the other week, if you put together David Raya highlight reel for this season, it would be ridiculous because he's made some worldies. And
absolutely,
and seems quite unassuming. I love the way he talks. I love the way he comes across as a quiet leader, because you need. He's clearly not a Jens Lehmann shout like a crazy person. No, but when you can hear and see. Or actually, you can't hear it, but you can see the communication with him and the defenders, and how effective that is. And no, he's an absolute star. Player of the season for me right now, absolutely. Do you know if there's ever been a goalkeeper player of the season before?
No, again, this was questioned, I think, again on another pod as well. But the only one potentially was Seaman back in the day. But I don't know. I don't recall. I don't really keep track of these things, so I don't know. Not and even within club or within actually player of the season or something like that. But I mean, and for me, he's up there, say with Rice or Big G, Saliba maybe. But he's also, I think, for me, the most irreplaceable player. Any other player on that pitch, you can take one in, one out, fine, we can manage. And the drop off, if it's just one player, okay, so if you've got the same 11, you take one, it's fine, we can manage. You take him out of a team and we are just a different team altogether. And he's just irreplaceable.
For that reason, Tabs, do you see Arteta moving on from Kepa in the summer and getting a different number 2?
But again, the whole idea of a number 2 is that you don't ever want to use them. I reckon we keep him. It's fine, because where are you going to get? So you either get young up and coming, but they're going to have to wait another how many 4 or 5 years, maybe 3 years, whatever. So and as you learn with them, make mistakes, or you keep him on, saves you 25 million, and we spend that on a forward. So I don't mind having Kepa there. I think the learning is, look, fine, Kepa got us to the final. Yeah, he got us to a quarter final. So I think he's fine. I understand the decision he made to play him in the final. We discussed that. So I'm not going to go with that again. But maybe Arteta will, as he's done, learn and go, I will promise you up to the semi-final, but you're not getting finals, and I'll make a decision based on merit. So, it's the most difficult. So unless you get someone old, like we had with whoever it was last year, who came out of his area to try and make a save with his hands, Neto. Exactly. So there's no ideal solution. You just look. City have stumbled across, they got Trafford and they seem to be fine with that, and then they got Donnarumma, but Donnarumma may be 1 or 2 seasons. He'll be gone after next season at the most. And even then Trafford's coming a better season. So I would keep Kepa. What would you do?
I think most Arsenal fans, if you pitch it the way you've just pitched it, which is not how I was thinking about it, but it's a really good shout, is that, do you want to spend 25 million on another goalkeeper that won't play, or do you want to spend 25 million on up and coming right back
Alvarez?
Or put it towards a bigger budget for a bigger player. You're absolutely right. There isn't going to be, there won't be stacks and stacks of cash. I think there'll have to be some outgoings, and they'll have a bit of money to spend. But I wouldn't want to spend 25 on another goalkeeper if I didn't have to.
No, exactly. And look, just the final talking point that I had from yesterday's game is around our substitutes, finishers. whatever you want to call them. I do like that concept, and I do agree with it. But whatever, yeah. And this year they've had such an impact. I think there's the stat here, like for the winner. This is Arsenal's 4th goal in the Champions League that was both scored and assisted by a substitute. Yeah, and that's like the most by a single by a team in a single season. But we also saw it, against Everton with Gyökeres and Dalman. And I think throughout the season, well, in the Premier League, 21 goal contributions, so 11 goals and 10 assists in the Premier League alone by subs. And this to me is what the squad is about. Yeah. And I've mentioned this before. The squad is not about having 2 first 11s. That's just not a realistic idea. You want to have as much quality within your squad as possible, but it's not about having 2 first 11s. You have your primary players. I don't want to call them first 11 because you have your primary players, and the rest of the squad is there to take minutes off those players, play cup games, to step in when players are injured. But what it should be is happening is only 1 or 2 players fitting into a fully functioning team. So disruption is minimal. You don't notice the drop off. It is much better. However, what we've experienced this year is the fact that we've had loads of people out all at the same time, or compound injuries. So therefore, yes, we have got a brilliant squad, but you chop and change 5 players and you're trying to win a league and trying to you're going to, then the football's going to suffer, or the results are going to suffer. You're never going to have that consistency of the 11 playing or 9 plus 2 playing and all the rest of it. But this impact off the bench and having that quality of the bench and being able to say, okay, for the first 3 quarters of the game, we're going to play this style and then we're going to change it up for this. Or, oh, now we need to defend, so we're going to do this. This is what the squad for me is about, and it's brilliant to see, and I think the players have bought into it as well. Absolutely,
and I think the difference is, compared to, obviously, look at last year, this PSG game, I could have probably got on the bench that night. We were desperate, weren't we? But what I think is really good about our depth is it isn't all exact like for like. So if as a right back, if you've been up against Trossard for an hour and then they said on Martinelli, it's not exact like for like. It's 2 very kind of skill sets. But then I also like the fact we do have a bit more like for like. So maybe Madueke is a bit more Saka. But then Max Dalman's not like either of those 2. So if that defender's been up against Bukayo for half an hour, for 60, 70, 80 minutes, and then for the last 20 minutes or so, you're going up against someone like Max, I think that is really challenging. I love the fact that there's that mindset of starting and finishing, which I first heard about that through English rugby.
Well, I was to say it's a rugby term, isn't it?
But it's really positive because, I mean, I was, back in the day, we sometimes sat on the bench and it was quite, I'm on the bench, and there wasn't that kind of come on, make an impact. The fact that the guys are, it means you keep, well, hopefully you do keep the larger squad happy, rather than Arteta's got his 14 favourites. If you're not in the 14 or 15, you haven't got to look in this situation. And it shows that how hard those players work when they come on. To have that many contributions in both the Premier and Champions League shows that they're not just going, oh, he's giving me 10 minutes, this is a waste of time. They're actually coming on to try and, in some cases, it might be to try and earn a starting spot for the week after. Or if not, just showing the manager you're still working hard and showing your teammates you're still working hard. I also think it's, if you do it at the right time, like I said, the opposition have been up against a certain pace of player, a certain rhythm of a player, certain physical attributes of a player. And then if you're just suddenly changing it, you're like, oh, damn, this guy's much more technical, or he's much faster, or he's much stronger. It's the kind of thing that defenders don't want. They prefer Leo, but fading into walking pace by the end of the match. They don't want to go up against Martinelli who's coming on to prove a point. So yeah, it's and I know it sounds silly, it might do, but I get excited when I see the subs now. We seem to be so good and positive, and we're seeing such positive impact of the subs. When we bring people on, I'm like, yeah, I think they'll make a difference. I think they'll change the game. So really, really positive. Yeah.
No, really good. I didn't have this on our notes, but I did want to ask, because just touch on Max Dalman, like a couple of minutes on Max Dalman. Actually, you saw when he came on yesterday, they knew how dangerous he was. They just took him out every time. Yeah. He hardly got a run on anyone because they were just fouling him just inside the half, and so they already knew how much of a danger he was. But we talked I think at the beginning of the year, I think about Dauman or stuff like that, and in his age, he's young, so for him to play the full 90 against Southampton, and not only did he play on the wing, and I was worried for him because they kept on giving the ball, so he's going to knacker this kid out, and then to play in centre midfield and be really effective from there. It's not how is it possible, but are you surprised? Because I think we discussed there's one thing being physical and being able to physically deal with the rigors of the game, but we also talked about you'd be mentally fatigued. So having to be a 16-year-old kid, I know Arteta will say go and play to a point because this is Arteta, to have the instruction and stuff like that. Are you surprised at the fact that, say, Southampton, he played the full 90 and he's now having the impact he is at that age? Because based on the discussion we had earlier about being a 15, 16-year-old kid growing, getting into playing a men's game.
Yeah, there's been a history of it, both in the Prem. I mean, Pele played in the World Cup final at 17, right? If you're good enough, you're old enough, is the cliche. But when I met Max last summer at the Arsenal under-21s versus St Albans football match, I was in St Albans for that, and just kind of chat to him for a few minutes. He's a big boy, and I think he's still got a number of years to carry on growing. And I think it's going to be similar to when we saw early Ronaldo. I'm not talking about the talent necessarily, but physically early Ronaldo in Portugal, and then obviously at United, to what Ronaldo then became 4, 5, 6 years later when he kind of grew into a young man, not just a youngster. The challenge is huge because there's so few instances where Arsenal have had, until recently, so few instances of where Arsenal have nurtured these young kids through and done everything right. Obviously, I think they've done a pretty good job with Bukayo. I know that there'll be so many learning points and things that they've changed about how they addressed kind of bringing Bukayo through, and even with Ethan and MLS, that they'll be doing the same with Max. The challenge, as you say, is yes, the kid can be as talented as a 23-year-old, but still physically he is a 16-year-old. So that will change. That's fine. But he's mentally still a 16-year-old. Like, I don't know if you can remember what you were like when you were 16, but goodness gracious. Plus stressing about GCSEs, even though he won't ever need to worry about his, hopefully, and he has a good professional career, he won't have to worry about kind of formal academics. But the family have got him in a nice school, and he's trying to kind of get his grades, get decent grades in. But the challenge of it is Arteta can't compartmentalize him and only put him against a young a left back. He's up against, Joel Linton earlier in the season was just beating the crap out of him. And then to the point where Joel Linton went and spoke to him afterwards, and it looked like he was kind of saying, well, good effort, young man. You did well there. So he's up against grown men 15 years into their professional football career, and he seems to be doing well. I hope he gets protected from the referees. I feel like he's going to be one of those Jack Wilshere types and an early Bukayo that gets fouled a lot. And if you're not robust enough, that's as you were saying, that's the risk that these youngsters just get their careers get kicked out of them early. Obviously, Arsenal worked a lot with Bukayo. He gets fouled less than he used to. Obviously, working on his body position about when he receives the ball. The thing that I also think that would help Max for him to learn is something I always wish they'd done with Jack Wilshere, is when you've done the really good bit of skill and you've got past the first one or two,
release the ball,
get rid of it. Don't go for the third or fourth guy, because that guy is just going to come in and take you out. I think Jack just got the crap kicked out of him for that. And I hope that Max gets that support and guidance.
That is the one thing. That is the one thing. Learning to when to release the ball, when to hold on to it, sort of thing. But no, it's just an interesting development thing. We talked about it, but no, it's again, we're very fortunate to see him, and it's very hard to stay grounded on it because he's not giving us a reason to. You know, it's his fault. It's his fault. Everyone's getting excited. If he wasn't so bloody good, then we wouldn't be getting this way. So no, I think he has he's already had a part to play this season, and I think we're going to see more of him. But so in terms of the rest of the Champions League, on our side of the draw, so last night Barcelona lost at home. They were down to 10 men to Atletico Madrid. I don't think this tie is over because apparently I didn't watch it. I didn't watch any of the other games, but apparently Barcelona with 10 men were the better team. But just brilliant free kick and then maybe a
free kick
counter
is
attack.
ridiculous.
Yeah. So yeah. Do you have any preference there? Because again, Barcelona, if we're a bit vulnerable to transitions and fast attacks and all the rest of it versus Simeone.
Yeah, I think Barcelona have quite rightly the arrogance to think they don't have to park the bus, whereas I think Atletico will be proud to park the bus. And I think I'd prefer to play Barca because I don't think they'll park the bus and they'll try and beat us. And okay. I think not many teams have tried to do that with Arsenal this year, and it does give opportunity and space. And opens up more patterns of play and attack that we sometimes can't get to when teams put 10 men behind the ball. Looking at the rest of the draw, for Arsenal to get to a semi of the rest of the teams, even if it was the teams on the other side of the draw, I think we kind of owe Barca. I was in Paris for the Champions League final, and still hurt by that. I had to drive a car full of Arsenal fans back all the way to the flipping. Not Dartford Tunnel, the Channel Tunnel, then get on the train with them and then get M25 the other side. It's just a nightmare. So I think we still owe them. Plus the Van Persie threw on goal, the second yellow, can't hear anything. So I kind of think I wouldn't care how we got to the final, but if we can get to the final having beaten Barca, there's something in that for me.
Yeah, I'm both equally difficult for equally different reasons. So I don't know. And then the other side, Liverpool getting beat 2-0 by PSG and then Bayern Munich beating Real Madrid away. Now the thing with PSG and Bayern Munich, look, they're looking ominous. But every time it comes to this part of the season, okay, PSG haven't got the league unwrapped up, but they'll win that. Bayern Munich, okay, they've got the league pretty much wrapped up, so they can basically their prime focus is the Champions League. Now they are good teams; they've got some very good players, but this is when they step up, and this is the challenge that Premier League teams have. That we have to fight every game every week, whereas they can just put their feet up. They get the owners of PSG changing the fixtures just to give them a break, when they need one, irrespective of what the opposition was. So if we do get to the final, and I think it will either be Bayern or PSG, that's a scary thought. I mean, look, a one-off game, anything can happen, but that's
I wouldn't want to play Liverpool.
Scary thought.
Not being xenophobic, but I would want a Champions League final to be against an international team, a non-English team. I think it would be painful to play against Liverpool in a Champions League final. So anyone beyond that, I mean, when you get to finals, it can be really tough either way, isn't it?
Yeah.
To be fair, PSG, Real, or Barca, or Bayern Munich, all decent teams. But I think
I would take Real now. If we got to the final, Real Madrid all day, please.
But again, they're still in that tie. They're only a goal behind, and it depends.
But away to Bayern Munich. But
we'll see. It's I think the challenge for Arsenal is to not do what we're doing and start looking at semi-finals and beyond. And they'll be so focused on this. Obviously, they've got other games before another game before that, but they'll be so focused on what they can do. And they've had another close look at this season's Sporting now, so the analysts will be all over it. So they'll know exactly what they want to do, and they'll have a new game plan for that as well.
Okay, so look, talking of focus, so we move on to the weekend. Saturday, 12:30. Arsenal versus Bournemouth. Our friend, Mr. Michael Oliver, is reffing, and it's a return to the Premier League after what seems an absolute age. Since we were all celebrating madly that Max Dowman goal against Everton, and that was back on the 14th of March, so nearly a month ago. And a lot has happened since then, and yet, and this is the thing. Lots has happened, but absolutely nothing has changed as far as the Premier League standings are concerned. We are still top of the league by 9 points. Yes, we've faltered a bit in other competitions, blah, 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 and we've had a couple of matches, injuries taking their toll, but the Premier League is still as is. So thankfully that's not been impacted. And this is a a massive game, especially because City play Chelsea on the Sunday, so it's a chance for us to go 12 points ahead, to really put the pressure on. So, yeah, what do you... And look, I don't want to contemplate the alternative, but we'll get to that. So what are you looking forward to and not looking forward to as far as our game against Bournemouth on Saturday is concerned?
Yeah, so I want to see another level of progression or steps further forward from Odegaard. I do like how Odegaard kind of makes things tick. Hopefully we'll be able to see Eza get some potentially time off the bench. I've seen he's in training, but again, it's Arteta, whether he wants us to find that out. It might be just strategic. With reference to what I want to see, I think with Arsenal, you and I were chatting at the Tolly about this. You can often tell within 5 minutes which Arsenal team have turned up on the day. And I just want us to turn up and play our normal game. I'm not asking for 9 out of 10s from the whole squad, whole team. I just want to, if everyone plays to their standard level, their kind of mean score, their average, I think we've got too much for Bournemouth. The challenge is if they're fatigued, they're carrying knocks. I mean, the level of training from a physical fitness viewpoint will be reducing as the season runs out. It's just maintenance now. So we're not going to suddenly see that Arsenal team from a few years ago where we jumped from middle of nowhere to nearly winning the league. I deemed that team the Unbelievables, because if we'd won the league that year, it would have literally been unbelievable. That level of pace and intensity is probably not there anymore, because I think we're not in that place anymore. The thing I'm not looking forward to, and this is very personal, but it's an interesting question you asked. My daughter's back in university with a boyfriend, both massive Arsenal fans. So they are taking the 2 season tickets to watch the game. So although I'm going to the Tolly, I'll catch up with people at the Tolly. It's they're at university in Newcastle. So I've kind of said, look, it's the first game they've been to together without anyone else. So I kind of agreed this, or kind of had it in my mind and offered it to them about 8 weeks ago. And now I'm obviously still following through, but now I'm like, that's going to be a harder watch in the Tollington than I thought it would have been maybe at the time. But obviously we've got some other Champions League games coming up and stuff like that. And I'll probably go to more Arsenal games than I probably need to, but blessed to have that season ticket. But yeah, so I'm going to be watching it in the Tolly. It'll be weird because all my pre-match routines and superstitions will be exactly the same. But then I might even walk to the stadium with him and kind of go, well,
are you not able to, are they members? Sorry, I don't want to delve too much into it. Okay, can you not just transfer your ticket and try and get one on the exchange?
Yeah. No. So the boyfriend, one of them will get it. I'll assign it to him, transfer it legally. Yeah. My daughter. Takes
well, anyway. Okay.
Yeah, I haven't looked on the exchange. I haven't looked.
A few have been popping up, but there we go. But anyway, okay. So I can see that'll be a tough watch in the bar. It'll be interesting because you can maybe hear the goal before it goes in on TV. But at least you'll have something to calm the nerves while you're watching.
Yeah.
So
are you going to pub beforehand, or you?
I don't know. It's an early one, so I'm going with my son. Funny enough, I'm going with my son. He's down. Nice. He's back from university, so we're not sitting together, but we'll be going to the game together. Good. So maybe just because of the timing, we're just going to go straight to the game. But yeah, I'm not really looking forward to much, to be honest. I think going to the game, I'm going to be nervous as hell.
Absolutely.
So any enjoyment will be retrospective. So it's a tough one to look forward to. I love going to watch the Arsenal, and look, first world problems. This is a privilege. I get all that, but also you cannot hide the fact that we're all anxious, all nervous, all catastrophizing. Mm-hmm. And as much as we're in a position where we want to be, you can't fool yourself. And if you're nervous, you're nervous, and you can't enjoy it. Yeah. So and look, I'm not a big fan of 12:30 kickoffs. The on a Saturday atmosphere is a bit subdued, a bit flat, and we really need everyone behind the team, and I just hope that the crowd is behind the team and they understand where we are, who we are at the moment, what we're trying to do, and just be that positive force behind the team.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in terms of you mentioned it, in terms of how we approach the predicted lineup. Yeah, Eze was in the pitch. Yeah, so there was 15 minutes of open training. Yeah. Eze was back in the pictures, but there was no sign of Odegaard, Saka, Timber, Calafiori, and Hincapié. Now, look, it's the first 15 minutes of a training session. The players are on this play recover repeat. That's it. Play, recover, repeat. Now they could be doing strength and conditioning work. They could be doing rehab work. Not all training has to be together out on the pitch. There's not a lot they're going to be learning from each other being out on the pitch, and all the rest of it. So who knows? I mean, I guess that's standard fare. Just because they may be not there out on the pitch doesn't mean they're not fit enough. They're just maybe doing tailored
because Arteta's
recovery.
done that before, hasn't he? We've not seen someone and then they've rocked up on a Saturday in the starting lineup, and almost the other way as well. Like he's put guys in. I think famously Saka did the Islington walk around the morning of the City game, and then he wasn't in kit on the day. And again, I'm in a good way. I feel like Arsenal players now, if they get a knock in a game, they're much more likely to sit down, look at the bench, and say, like, knee, hamstring, I'm hurt. But equally, I also know that we do that when we want to force a substitution. So sometimes I'm a little bit suspicious over what they are sat down for.
Right.
But again, like the other thing, I was talking to a colleague about this the other day. The other thing in the back of these guys' minds is they want to get match fit. They want to win the Prem. They're very, very professional. They're very ambitious. They're all about winning. Also, a lot of them want to not get hurt and go to the World Cup. So there's that, and once every 4 years we have this in the back of their minds. And for a lot of them, that is you could argue an even bigger privilege than playing for the Arsenal, potentially the Brazilians and some of the other guys. It's a bigger deal for them. So part of me thinks that they've got that in the back of their mind. I have got a slight knock, but I'm like, for example, Odegaard might be thinking, look, if I get one more big injury, I might be out of the World Cup. So he's trying to nurture his way back in, but subconsciously, as a very proud
Norwegian,
he wants to kind of stay in shape enough to do that. So in a way, it's good for us on paper because it means they're going to be more attuned to mechanisms of injury and niggles and tweaks and stuff than they maybe would have been if it was in like a non-World Cup year in February. They wouldn't be. They'd be just kind of the classic Ben White play with the torn hamstring kind of thing.
Yeah.
So hopefully that won't be the case. The other thing I'm looking forward to, actually worth saying, I just love watching Max Dowman play. He's so exciting. Like he kind of gets you off your seat, and we haven't had one of those for a while until maybe not early, but Bukayo. But I'm just so excited by what this lad can potentially do. I don't want him to go to the World Cup. I hope that his GCSEs or his parents will say no.
I think
Paul Scholes the other day said, "Yeah, take him."
Paul Scholes is a twat. He's a twat. Look, they've learned the lesson with Walcott. It's fine. Look, he's going to have plenty. You'd think, and Tuchel's more sensible than that, and stuff like that. So I think we're fine. I mean, look, it's going to be so hard to predict. Look, we have to play our strongest team. This is huge. We don't win this, then City then win their game. So, but we don't know the fitness of the players, so we'll go as strong as possible. But if there are doubts, especially like Timber, so then at right back, White or Mosquera. I would suggest it'll be Mosquera because White playing 3 90s in a row is just unheard of. Left back Calafiori and Hincapié, but it could even be MLS. Left wing Trossard or Nelly. We'll see. Maybe Nelly again. It's that who started one game goes on the bench next. And the big question: would you Gyökeres and Havertz up front? Havertz rested. Are we going to be thinking about City next week? So there's lots of decisions to make, all pros and cons. And I think it's really hard because we're here, it's not like we know everyone's fit. So, hey, let's pick a team for Bournemouth and so on. And I think he can maybe take more of a risk with Bournemouth, knowing that we're 1-0 up against Sporting. So I think that may be in mind. But yeah, we can speculate. But all season we've been speculating about first 11s, and they've been pretty much wrong every time. But out of one of those, the one question then, Gyökeres or Havertz, who would you start up front?
Because of the 1-0, I think I would start Gyökeres because I think he's resilient enough to play that game and then start against in the next leg. But having Havertz, who's, let's not forget, is coming back from injury, giving him 25 minutes at the end is great. What a great option to have. I wouldn't start Havertz and then expect Gyökeres to come on and win the game from the bench. I kind of like Havertz from the bench out of those two, but again, it's so subjective. It swings and roundabouts. but you're right.
Well, I mean, was it Gyökeres and Dalman came on to win the game against Everton? So
yeah,
it's a tough one. Yeah, it's hard. I think fitness, game state. Yeah, we'll just see. So let's quickly move on from that, because we could be here pondering. And look, even Saka might not even start. Yeah, given, do we rest him one little bit more? We give him half an hour against Sporting, and then he's fully fit for City. Madueke with his miraculous recovery. But yeah, so we see that. Yeah, there's lots to be there, and the only certain people in the building know, and we'll find out at 11:15 on Saturday. Look, on to Bournemouth. They are the draw specialists. I think they've drawn their last 5 games, 3 of them 0-0. They actually haven't lost in the league since we beat them back on January the 3rd. And since then they've played 11, won 7, drawn 7, won 4.
Okay.
They're currently in 13th, so very mid-table, on 42 points, equal with Newcastle, 1 point behind Sunderland on 43, who play Tottenham, and who could be putting Tottenham into relegation position if they beat Tottenham, and West Ham beat Wolves. 1 point behind Brighton and 2 points behind Wolves. So there's that group of clubs between 9th and 13th, all close to each other. So they're a bit down on where they've been on previous years. I think their away form is played 15, won 3, drew 7, lost 5 against 31, 4, 23, so -8. Home records slightly better, but not massively better. Okay, they won 6 games over 3, but and a +6 goal difference. So this isn't the Bournemouth of previous seasons, but we know they're a tricky team. The one thing is that they are, they're a pressing machine. They force you wide, they go man to man, they win it high, they attack really, high and instantly. So if we can beat the press, then there's space. But that intent, and it lasts throughout the whole game. And what they do is they'll sub out 3 forwards, and they'll put 3 more forwards in, and they'll maintain that. And they're really aggressive. I think they're top in various statistics around their press in terms of high turnovers. And we saw that. Okay, we beat them 3-2, but we gave away a goal because of some of the pressure, or just maybe in our head. So it's not an easy game, and now I don't think I could cope with a Reece Nelson moment. I think the paramedics will be just running around. If that happened again, I think there'll be I think the paramedics will just be losing their shit, because there'll be a lot of heart attacks everywhere. But how do you see the threat of Bournemouth? I mean, they've got this junior Krupi, he's 19, he's their top scorer in 9 goals, he scores bangers, he scored 1 against us. How do you see the threat of Bournemouth, and how do you think we will fare?
I think obviously Arteta will take it very, very seriously. I think that Junior's a really, really good player. They have a good tradition they're a little bit like kind of Brentford, what Brighton maybe used to be, by really finding these little gems. They've got a few good players. I think the challenge is that Arsenal have this reputation now at the Emirates. We don't give tons away. Obviously, we've had a bit of a bad run in the last 2 games, but Bournemouth having drawn 5 in a row, at least in the Prem, I'm just looking back at all the kind of previous results that we played them, we usually score a few goals against them. So I think we'll score. I think it'll be something like a 2-1. It might be a nervy 2-1, but for me, it's I want to see the approach and the mindset and the kind of the effort. I want to be able to forget very quickly the Southampton game and the City game, and the way to do that is, as Arteta always says, win the next game. So from a Prem viewpoint, this is obviously, it's absolutely huge. It's terrifying. I think I'm getting so many different people kind of reaching out, and friends, and even in my own kind of Arsenal WhatsApp groups. People are stressed about it. I don't know if it's the same in your kind of the groups you're in, and obviously on the Grove. The Grove kind of WhatsApp group, but people are really, really stressing. So I was kind of having to think about this the other day as a kind of a public health advert. I've said it before on other pods, but I think people should. This is genuinely serious, because males have a tendency of not looking after their mental health, and I think people need to try and just be sensible about what outside influences they accept into their Arsenal lives. I mean, I don't listen to outside pundits, ex-players who've obviously got issues with us, PGML, any of that kind of referee TV bullshit. The majority of journalists I know who are clearly anti-Arsenal, I kind of quarantine myself away from the noise, and I only listen and I only kind of take on the opinions of people whose opinions I respect. That's a certain number of podcasts. Obviously this one, maybe one or two others, a small WhatsApp Arsenal group that I'm on, and then a few other mates, and then just a few contacts I have in the game, because it's so easy. Like I get people coming forward and they're saying, "Oh, have you heard what Paul Scholes has said? And have you heard what Jamie O'Hara has said?" And I'm like, "Why are you listening to this? It's stressing you out." Because I said, you chose to turn on TalkSport. I don't blame anyone else.
There you go. That's your first mistake.
Yeah, exactly. And I truly believe this is going to be these next 50 odd days. I've kind of averaged that out. Are going to be some of the hardest Arsenal supporting days in the last 20 odd years, because there is a chance for some history to be made. It's going to be so tough. And I think in the stadium, obviously I've already said I won't be there for the Bournemouth game, because I'll give them a ticket away. But every single home game, I hope and I believe will be like a cup final with the Arsenal fans all behind the team. Yes, there may be a missed pass. Someone might do something wrong. No groans. Or if there is an error, do you remember a few years ago, Saliba made an error? I'm trying to remember what game it was. And then
it was Leicester, and he scored the own goal, and everyone.
But then, literally, the fans for the rest of the game were just singing the Saliba song. So we really need to get behind.
Yeah, but it was like fourth game of the season, and he was young, and all the rest of it.
I feel like it's a hold on tight, but also, this is kind of the kind of final kind of serious bit. But if anyone's stressing so much, reach out and talk to someone about it. But talk to someone who isn't going to trigger you. So don't go, "I've got a really good mate. He's a taxi driver. He's a Tottenham fan, but I'll give him a chat." No, don't do that. Don't reach out to the wrong people, but just chill with it. And a friend of mine said the other day, "Oh, I think Arteta's reached the ceiling with this squad." And I was like, I nearly started texting back, and I was like, the season hasn't ended yet. We haven't reached the ceiling because we haven't ended the season to say whether we did or didn't reach. So there's so many and people are getting stressed. And if they see one thing wrong, they're like, "Oh, that's typical of us. We always do that." And quite often it isn't even data evidence. It's just their stressed opinion on stuff.
It's funny, the amount of times I've written stuff and then I don't have to. I don't. Well, he's not saying I'm right. You don't have to be right, or you don't have to prove them wrong. Just let them think what they want to think. It's fine. It doesn't affect you. You think what you think. So it's not going to help that I said they did the double over us last year, but that's another story.
I hope that's pinned on the changing room wall though. Like.
Absolutely. Well, look, the one away was because of a dodgy sending off to Saliba, and the one at home was, look, we were thinking about the Champions League and we were in bits as a team, so they don't really count for much. Now, as you said, we do normally score. We've normally got a good record against them. No, I think you're right. Look, it's just tense. We want it so much. 22 years. We can understand it, but put yourself in an environment of success. I say, don't get off the online. People are baiting, people are trying to stoke, people are doing it for clicks, and it's all disingenuous nonsense, and it's fine. But this is the world we live in, and people find it hard to retract from that. But you don't have to just I said two things that I do is like, let them. Is it Mel Robbins? Just let them. It's fine. And you don't have to. The amount of times like a tweet or a message or trying to because you're just not going to get the engagement, and they're not going to turn around and go, "Oh, absolutely right. Thank you for pointing out the errors of my way. You're absolutely right." It's never. Trust me, I've done it loads of times. It just doesn't happen. So and you're right. You're right. It's a good message to say, look, if it is really getting to you properly, then yes, do talk to someone, put it into perspective. There's a certain tangerine man on the other side of the pond that is making life very difficult for a lot of people. So it's football. It's meant to be fun. It's meant to be enjoyable. As they say, pressure is a privilege. It means we're here because it means something. So we're in a great position. And
everyone else in the Prem would like to be where we are.
Exactly. So how much are we losing by on Saturday? No. What are you predicting on Saturday?
My prediction is...
you said 2-1.
My prediction's 2-1, yeah. What do you reckon?
Yeah, you know what? It's going to be 2-0. and then we give away a goal, and then it's going to be squeaky bum time.
Nervy as hell.
But how nice would it be if we're like 3-0 up by half time? Can we not just? When was the last time we had one? I think it was Leeds. Was it? That was even then. It was 2-0.
Yeah.
Took a while to get to 3-0. It'd be nice just to have a 3-0 at half time.
Yeah,
that's
as
just
much,
for once, please.
As much as for our cardiac health, but also for the health and the minutes for the players. So you could say actually we can take off X, Y, or Z because we know they've only got a certain number of minutes.
Yeah. I think I'm with you. A 2-1 is it seems to be a likely score. 2-1, 2-0. But there we go. Well, look. Wow, 90 minutes in, an hour and 30. I know I said 40 in our text, so I appreciate that, but I know you know that's absolute nonsense whenever I say that anyway. No, fantastic chat, and thanks for coming in at the one of our super subs. Mitch is actually Mitch is a finisher for the Grove podcast. He's there, comes in, knocks it out the park when he's called upon in the last minute. So thank you very much, Mitch, for joining us today. And hopefully your experience in the Tollington is a joyous one. I'm sure it is. And look, if I get the chance to go there before the game, I'll let you know. But
let me
maybe not. And look, if you can find us on the socials at the Grove AFC on Blue Sky, Threads, TikTok, Insta, X. Obviously, we're on Apple and Spotify. We also have the YouTube channel, so you can find us at the Grove Podcast, at the Grove AFC. Leave a rating, comment, like, helps with the algorithms, helps get us into the ears of people less fortunate than yourselves. So really appreciate that, and we notice when you do it. Well, I do anyway. So thank you for listening. And I've left this in from the last one. Let's keep the faith, people. Stay strong. Let's stick together on this. It's going to happen. I was going to say I promise you. I can't promise it. It will happen. It just might be a bit bumpy along the way. And until the next time, come on, you Gunners.